The night over Moscow began like any other, quiet, calculated, and unaware that history was about to unfold in less than 20 minutes. Above the calm, cold air, two Ukrainian MiG-29s sat in the dark, modified to carry long-range standoff. Munitions and advanced electronic warfare pods, developed in secret workshops outside Kyiv. Their fuselages were coated with radar-absorbing panels, designed not in vast factories, but in converted hangars by engineers who had once built racing drones. For months, Ukraine's military intelligence had mapped every layer of Moscow's defenses: S-400 launchers, command radars, even the timing of rotating shifts inside key air defense stations. What they discovered was a pattern, a narrow 15-minute window between radar recalibrations over the central region. It was enough for a miracle or a disaster. Inside a small underground command center near Poltava, screens flickered to life as the mission began. Colonel Dmytro Savchenko, a veteran pilot-turned-strategist, watched the telemetry feeds with narrowed eyes. "Once you cross the threshold, there's no turning back," he said over encrypted comms. The pilots responded with calm professionalism. Their voices steady, their breathing controlled. Both were volunteers, men who understood that success would rewrite the psychology of the war, and failure could spark global consequences. The first jet, call sign Falcon 3, lifted into the air, its engines muffled with acoustic diffusers. Seconds later, Shadow 1 followed, disappearing into the freezing stratosphere. They climbed to 35,000 feet, blending into the faint radar clutter caused by civilian air traffic near Belarus. At that altitude, the Earth curved beneath them, and the faint glow of Moscow's perimeter could already be seen far beyond the horizon. The operation was planned to last only 16 minutes once the strike commenced. Every minute had a purpose, one for insertion, one for targeting, 14 for pure chaos. In Kyiv, the highest levels of command remained silent. President Zelensky had approved the operation hours earlier, after receiving intelligence that Russian forces were stockpiling aviation fuel and ammunition, reserves in depots disguised as industrial, plants on the outskirts of Moscow. Satellite images confirmed the sites were crucial to sustaining air operations in the Western Military District. Ukraine had never struck so deep before, but after months of relentless missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities, the leadership decided it was time to make the aggressor feel vulnerable in their own heartland. The two jets flew low over the forests, guided by terrain-following radar, their signatures masked by ECM bursts mimicking storm activity. Russian air defense operators picked up strange readings on their scopes, brief pulses, then silence. They chalked it up to atmospheric distortion. The MiGs continued unseen. At dawn, Russian state media attempted to suppress the event, calling it a localized fire caused by malfunction. But satellite footage told a different story. Independent analysts estimated over $620 million in damage, destroyed fuel reserves, 2 command centers, and severe losses in energy infrastructure. International observers were stunned. Western analysts compared it to the Israeli airstrikes on Osirak or Entebbe operations so bold they redefined military thinking. Ukraine had just proven that precision, adaptability, and innovation could overpower an empire's fortress. Inside Ukraine, the mood was electric. News of the strike spread rapidly through encrypted channels before official confirmation. Soldiers in trenches near Kupiansk cheered quietly, watching the glowing plumes on distant radar screens. For them, it was not just revenge, it was proof that Moscow was no longer untouchable. Engineers at the military research units, responsible for the MiG, modifications celebrated silently, aware that their work had just entered history books. In Moscow, panic rippled through the chain of command. The Kremlin ordered a full review of air defense coverage, summoning generals to explain how 2 outdated fighters could breach layers of defense systems worth billions. Some reports indicated temporary shutdowns of radar grids across western Russia, fearing hidden follow-up attacks. Civilian flights were rerouted, and footage leaked of fire crews battling massive blazes for hours near the destroyed terminals. By morning, even Russian citizens could no longer believe the official narrative. Videos shared online showed shockwaves, shattered glass, and flames reaching the sky. The myth of impenetrability was broken. Western media called it the 16-minute war. Military experts debated how Ukraine managed to fly deep into Russian territory undetected. Some speculated American or British electronic support. Others credited Ukrainian ingenuity alone. The truth remained classified. But what was clear was that Moscow had been hit not just physically, but psychologically. The Kremlin's aura of control had cracked. For the first time since the war began, ordinary Russians realized that the conflict they supported had found its way back home. Back in Kyiv, Colonel Savchenko and his team watched satellite images of the aftermath. He didn't smile. He simply nodded. "We proved it can be done," he murmured. The pilots who executed the mission landed at a secret airfield in western Ukraine, greeted by silence and handshakes. There were no parades, no public recognition. They were ghosts once again. What they accomplished, however, would echo through history. The following day, Ukrainian intelligence intercepted panicked Russian communications. High-ranking officers discussed relocating command facilities further east. Fearing further precision strikes, for Ukraine, that alone was victory enough.